Good Saturday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center tracking a severe thunderstorm warning in play for parts of Union, Bradford, and a little bit of Baker County there as well. It goes into .05 at this point, but it may get extended by the National Weather Service in Jacksonville. So we're watching this. It's been really the core, at least over more rural parts of Union, but we're starting to see maybe a little bit of heavier acts in there approach the Rayford area, also Lake Butler there. So we're just going to have to continue to watch things. You can see a little bit of wind enhancement now someone up there closer toward State Road 100. We're seeing some hail indications along State Road 100 further on back to the west there as it's passing by areas there southeast of Lulu. So we'll just continue to watch it as it moves into more populated areas here over the next little bit, like Rayford and Lake Butler, and then maybe Lodi here as we get a little bit later in the timeline. So Rayford is on your doorstep now. The worst of this, you want to be inside and away from windows here with this severe thunderstorm warning in effect until right now at least 5 o'clock. But again, for areas like Lodi, this might get pushed a little bit later in the timeline depending on how it holds together here. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning is in play for these areas in the yellow box. That means when thunder roars, you want to go indoors, seek shelter inside a sturdy building, and stay away from windows. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning in play for areas here out toward the west of Stark. We're in Stark, by the way, if you're wondering. The latest update from the Weather Service was at 4:42. A severe thunderstorm located near Lake Butler, moving east at 30 miles an hour. Lake Butler, Rayford, Beasley, New River, Johnstown, and Ellerby are locations that could be impacted by this dangerous storm. So we could be seeing maybe things like some wind damage there to roof, siding, and trees. So just keep that in mind. It's just really for your protection. You want to move to the interior room on the lowest floor of your building if you can. If you're in this box, this does not really include Stark at this point, but that could change as we look later on into the timeline. So again, we're just going to keep watching all our different scans here in the Weather Center. You can see here the velocity hadn't been all that impressive. I mean, the whole way through, really, as I back it up. So the wind potential, it might have got down to the surface for a moment, but really, then you were kind of concerned about that hail potential as it scrubbed back a little bit. We saw that emerge there on State Road 100 there. In that very rural spot there southeast of Lulu, and that's when they issued a warning here. Now it's headed, that potential is in the more popular areas like especially Rayford, a little bit of severe potential maybe for Lake Butler. You're technically under the warning there, but it seems like the worst to be headed more into Rayford here. So just kind of giving you guys an idea of what's going on here this afternoon with this severe weather situation. So again, just looking at some of our different maps here. You can see some of this purple here indicative of some nastier weather conditions. I know we've had that margin of risk in play. We talked about it back on Thursday night, early Friday, that potential, but really hadn't seen anything at all develop here until just over the last hour or so. We really hadn't seen much on the Doppler radar technology, but now we do have this one area here of more concern. Other areas here look pretty weak at this point, but that could change as that area was looking weak there when it was further west there, out toward the Swanee River Valley, a little bit further west there, even of Lake City itself. So again, looking at hail track over the last hour, you can kind of see how it picked up once it got into toward Union County here. So I'll go ahead and zoom in there. See what I'm talking about there. The current hail indicator is still showing that there could be some acts in there that could be reaching down toward the surface, maybe a little bit more off towards State Road 100, but again, that was not so necessarily severe on this product, so kind of a marginal severe situation here. Nothing overwhelming, no rotation in terms of tornadic potential, so that's some good news here, but still, another weekend, another severe threat. We have to come on the air with you guys on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So again, let's go ahead and zoom out right now. You can see here, we'll go ahead and see where the storm action is right now. We'll have to see if they extend this warning. I think it's about 50-50 right now, whether they extend this or not. We'll just have to keep paying attention here in this type of scenario. They may want to extend this, but it's just going to kind of depend maybe on the trends over the next few moments that we see on the Doppler radar scans. You can see we have surface-based Cape there, a little bit lower off toward Lodi and Stark. In theory, it looks like unless it's kind of inches up here a little bit as the storm moves on in. But right where the storm is right now, we're seeing energy values a little over 2,000 joules per kilogram, but closer to 1,800 joules per kilogram towards dark and lowry. I know that's really technical speaking there for you guys at home, but this could end up being a situation here where it's decaying a little bit. They were saying some of that here in the chat. The storm in Union continues to move east, but it may be weakening a bit as it moves away from the higher bit of instability there. So right for right now, we're starting to get some of the worst of that there in Union County, and we're going to have to wait and see if the Lowry area gets impacted here in the next little bit, but at least some lightning potential. So if nothing else, even if we don't have a warning as this goes further east and we get to go off the air here, you still want to stay inside, really, because that lightning can be dangerous and not deadly. We had a lightning fatality down in Brevard County along the Space Coast on Sunday, so you can't take any chances here, whether this is severe, tornadic, or just has some lightning in it here. All those are dangerous in different ways, so you gotta be taking these type of situations seriously. So again, we're based in Stark. If you're wondering where we're at here, I'll go ahead and pull up our coverage map. Portions of Bradford County, they are under this warning. Hadn't really got into Bradford yet here, the worst of this, but we're in Bradford County, that highlighted yellow area there. Here on this Saturday afternoon, watching the situation for you guys. See how it progresses, see how it evolves here, and we'll just continue to give you guys the very latest information as the latest scans and the Doppler radar come on in here. You can see we have, again, some lightning, quite a bit of lightning around Rayford. Just remember, whenever that thunder roars, you want to go indoors here if you're in the Rayford area. That's very important to keep in mind. You see Lake Butler there, maybe some stronger wind showing up into what areas there. Maybe in that 30-40 mile an hour range, I would say more likely than 60. But again, the reason the warning was issued, I think, was because we had that really nasty, just 1 or 2 scan period where you had, I mean, it started there, but then right there, a little bit there too. But really, these two here are really kind of making people a little bit concerned there as we were looking there southeast of the Lulu area. You could see there right around, it looks like the Clark Sawtop Road area. Very rural, but nonetheless, maybe getting able to into that point. So that's why they were getting kind of concerned at the weather service a little after 4:30 or so when that scan came out, and right before that scan is when that warning was issued. So you're looking at this latest information here as about 4:48 on the scan now, 4:53. That's the current scan just coming in now to our system this afternoon. Again, trying to give you guys the latest information. You see around Rayford there. Rayford, we have a little bit of wind enhancement just north of there potentially, but really I'm not seeing a whole bunch of wind in this, to be quite honest, but still, you just never know. You don't want to be messing around as I try to gather some information here in the Weather Center, see if there's any power outages so far here on this type of thread. I know, by the way, when we're not on, we give you that latest information there on multiple outlets. Multiple outlets here like Facebook. I mean, when we have certain things, sometimes we post there, but then I know our automated account, Cloud_Liberty_X on Twitter, that gives you some details. We retweeted the latest outlook just a little while ago on Twitter at CloudKC as well. So just kind of keep those points in mind there. I know we've had some severe weather up toward North Carolina. You could have seen some of that action there on interactive radar up toward Virginia, D.C. there today. That's at cloudsweather.com/radar. But looking right now at power outages in the state of Florida, Columbia County, no customers in the dark there. Union County, none. Bradford County, none. Baker County, none so far. Doesn't mean somebody's power couldn't flicker on them. But right now we're not getting anybody noted without power as the latest update here. That update came in about the time we came on the air here, about 4:41 or so. Is when those numbers were coming on out there. So we could have had some here since then, but right now not seeing anything look too overwhelming, but we're really wanting to watch things. I know you guys could get caught off guard here on this Saturday afternoon. We talked about this thread on Thursday with me isolated. This is very isolated. I mean, this is really the only storm that has any type of strong to severe potential in a whole 62 counties here. But let's go ahead and go back on over right now to our other radar source. We'll go ahead and switch on over right now here to our other computer. You see your instability values, and they just gave us an update here. The Storm Prediction Center did a mesoscale discussion, and there's only a 20% chance a severe thunderstorm watch would get issued here, as they're saying it. And I'll kind of read this a little more verbatim, but isolated to scattered thunderstorms are gradually developing along an approaching cold front and a regional sea breeze situation with those boundaries. A few strong and severe storms are possible and may pose a sporadic hail damaging wind threat, but watch issuance is not anticipated. Over the past 1 to 2 hours, a few isolated cells have developed along and moved off a migratory cold front approaching North Florida and the Georgia South Carolina coast. The lift associated with the front is well timed with peak diurnal heating with those mixed layer Cape values there up to 1,500 joules per kilogram. You also see there that in the recent RAP meso-analysis and the latest high-res forecast soundings, just why those hodograms though, and photographs I should say are somewhat poorly structured per the VWP I should say observations. As we get really technical here, I'm not used to talking about these type of terms here on the air. We look at them all the time behind the scenes, but not on the air. But there appears to be sufficient deep layer shear for storm organization and effective shear vectors largely oriented there along the frontal boundary along the Georgia South Carolina coast will favor a tendency for storm interactions, upscale growth, which may limit the overall propensity there for long-lived severe convection. However, shear vectors off the boundary across North Florida may support more long-lived convection that should pose a more robust, albeit isolated large hail and damaging wind threat. But additional convection developing along the sea breeze boundaries across North Florida will likely see similar intensification, and then a relatively modest ascent there along the cold front will likely favor more isolated convection, limiting the overall cover to the threat. So isolated severe potential, that's kind of a good summary for that. A lot of you guys there, if you're really into meteorology, you might kind of get a little bit more out of that, but otherwise not so much. But that warning, they're now telling us they're expiring it out, so it's going to stay in effect till 5, but it's going to drop off the screen here right about now. As you'll see that yellow box go away. But again, they are saying there's not enough of a severe threat here with the storm for the time being to continue a warning. But let's go ahead and just, as this warning technically still goes to 5, we'll see if there's any type of signs that I may be trying to strengthen again here as we look toward the Bradford area, as we look toward the Bradford there in Union County. We're looking out toward the Florida State Prison, that region there. You kind of get the idea in terms of just seeing some nasty weather though under the operator algorithms. So again, looking right now around northeast 237th place. We're just going to keep watching all these different scans. I'm going to see here if there's anything right now in terms of any questions. I don't see anything right now. But again, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me here on this Saturday afternoon as we're continuing to stay live here for just at least a little longer on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So our systems are working very hard here to try to give you guys the latest. We're just going between some of our different sources here, for instance. So if you guys wonder what I'm doing here sometimes behind the scenes, that's what I'm doing. Again, there's your Lodi area. They're going to be up next here for at least some strong storm activity. Stark, where we're at here in that vicinity, probably missed the worst of this, I would say. You can definitely see that easterly movement. It's going to keep it mainly here, probably just near and north at State Route 100. So just so you guys know, if you're like down toward the Walmart, unless we get some more development here, which isn't impossible, then this area at least will probably go north of you. But if you're up toward the fairgrounds, you might kind of get clipped by this. We'll see. Just have to kind of wait to see here how this kind of progresses. But it seems like as I'm kind of scrubbing back and forth here, it seems like it's kind of following along. I'm not even lifting a little bit north of 100 here, so maybe not even really getting too much toward the fairgrounds. But we'll just continue to watch things here. We'll continue to give you guys the latest information as we zoom back on out here. Look at some of our different tools here in the Weather Center. I know we do have our camera here, our outside camera looking off kind of toward the west here. We'll see what it shows us. We'll see what that gives us here in the Weather Center, if it is available. We've had some issues with it from time to time. Let me see if that's available real quick. Just bear with me. Okay, it is available, but it's really showing quite a bit of sunshine, actually. So that's interesting. I don't know if we want to go to that because it's really kind of It looks like it's a little bit overexposed, to be quite honest. So we're not going to go over to that then. Let's go ahead and go back over here. You can see, let's go over toward Lordy. This is starting to move into toward Bradford, but again, the official warning's been dropped. I do expect a significant weather advisory to come on out here. They're confident they don't have to issue another warning here, or at least think that's probable that they wouldn't have to issue another warning for the next little bit at least. So of course, we'll have to watch this even later on for areas here like maybe toward the St. Johns River, toward the coastal areas here. Along the Atlantic coast, maybe we get some upscale growth as they get toward that vicinity again to trigger another warning or two. You're still seeing some upscale growth here in some of our different metrics here on our system. So again, we'll just continue to watch things. Let's go ahead and go to the north. You see some clearer conditions toward the north, but as we look here toward Lodi, we're just going to keep watching things heading your direction. Again, no longer a warning in play here for our folks up toward Lodi. This is moving there around Bradford right now. Again, strong storm conditions. Maybe gusts 40 miles an hour, maybe some hail to peace size, something like that. But again, the official warning has been dropped for the time being, which is some great news for our viewers out there. So again, you can see there is some electrical energy with this activity, though, with these storms per se, with this storm in this area. So we'll just have to continue to watch things here. You see the storm down toward Brooker is starting to kind of develop now. That latest scan, nothing severe or strong about it yet, but maybe storm does get a little bit of heavier action from it here in short order. We'll just have to watch because that kind of had that easterly movement, but a little bit of a northern component than the Walmart area. You guys might get some storminess from this other storm here now. It seems like it's really starting to see some upscale growth here. They go to our ZDR product. Oh, wow. That's really so. And I don't normally see that on our GDR products. That might be a pretty quick developer. I rarely see that. So if that well defined, that's growing very quickly there around Brooker. So again, that might be a storm that actually causes some nastier weather here in this dark area versus the warned area that's no longer warned up toward the north here. So this might be the storm to watch if that type of upscale growth continues. I do not see values like that very often in terms of just in this one scan period. It's growing so quickly, developing so rapidly here in this environment. I mean, the temperatures are very warm out there. We're talking about 80s here still on my thermometer, and that really tells a story here. We have a lot of that energy this could take advantage of by itself. So again, that could be an issue here. I mean, it could interact with some of the other acts and then fall apart, but if it didn't, then you're in there, Brooker moving up towards Sampson and parts of maybe there between Hampton and Star could be a little bit stronger here. At least get like a significant weather advisory, something like that. I know they just issued a significant weather advisory for this action. Think more up toward the north, northeastern Bradford, northeastern Union, northwestern Clay County through about 5:30. So again, we'll just continue to watch the situation here in the weather center. Let's see what that's for in terms of the wind speed and in terms of the hail size. I'll go ahead and click on that here. So we're talking about winds around 40. They're not really too concerned about hail here at all at this point. Haven't had any reports from the area off toward the west either, but they're saying at least areas of Stark, Rayford, Kingsley, Beasley, Camp Landon, Lodi, Ellerby, and Johnstown will need to watch. And they do have this kind of arrow down enough to maybe clip Stark with this one area. We'll see. I kind of think that's more left to north though. We'll keep watching. You can kind of see here how it's been kind of trying to lift a little bit further north, that one area, but the other area, maybe what Stark needs to watch here over the next little bit. Now, we don't have any warnings here on play at this point, so it's a situation where I don't know how long we'll stay on here further than we're already on because we have 62 counties to cover, so we generally don't like to stay on, even if we're where we're at here in Stark under a snowstorm threat. We have a situation where we really don't want to overdo it because then we'd have to kind of do that for other counties here as well. But they're now telling us here in the chat session that the storm has weakened, so they let the warning expire for Bradford County in that area, but another storm near Brooker could intensify here if it interacts with the outflow from the north. So we got to watch that storm around Brooker there here in Bradford County. So again, let's just see here what we have in terms of power outages now. Still none showing up in Union, 0. 0 in Baker, and it looks like none in Bradford either. So that's some good news so far, but we'll have to continue to watch things. I kind of doubt the hail would have been damaging if we would have had some even along 100. Maybe you got to an inch there for a moment, but not when it first got issued. But so far so good anyway. But there's always that chance that we could be missing out on some of the information here. In terms of maybe some isolated damage, it could take a little longer to trickle in, or a power outage that is not being necessarily tracked here, because some of these more rural areas don't have, like in Union County, for instance, you might not have a spot there where we're really going to be able to get that information in out of here right away. So again, you see out toward the Brooklyn area, that's really developing. I'm going to keep it here a little longer, make sure you don't like get a warning on this really quick here. I may go with an advisory here pretty shortly, but that's very unusual to see a storm develop that rapidly here. Just a couple radar scans. The DR went down a little with the upscale growth, but again, we're seeing that develop here pretty quickly here, and that's going to be moving toward areas there in southern Bradford. I mean, so again, and even towards central Bradford for that matter. So again, let's go ahead and bat this up again. I mean, look at that. That was 4:57. It was 10 minutes ago, folks. It was barely a sour, really. And even before that, look at that. 4:53, there's nothing there. And now we'll just go forward here. 4:57, 5:01, now 5:05. And wow. So we're now being told there is a significant weather advisory there for portions of Bradford and Clay. Did that other area here through about 5:30. So it's just that strong thunderstorm now. Near Sampson, or 9 miles southwest of Stark, moving east about 25. So they're saying winds to around 40.5 inch size hail possibilities. Stark, Keystone Heights, Kingsley, Sampson, Camp Landing, and Hampton. So that's this area here. That's becoming the bigger concern for Stark. This one's still a concern for Laurie, though, but neither of them have a warning like this one did have a little bit earlier on that prompted us to come on here with the live coverage. So again, I'm curious to this other area. It seems like it's still going so quickly. It could still get a warning on us here in pretty short order. So I hate to kind of just wrap it up here. I know we're not seeing a lot of wind energy, but it's just the nature of it being so discreet like this that you never know here. We don't want you guys caught off guard here in Bradford County. So again, let's go ahead. We're right here with you in Bradford County, by the way, eastern part of Bradford, so nothing where we're at yet. But County Road 18 there is where this is here as we're looking toward areas there around southwest 147th Avenue. So again, that's where some of the worst of this is right now. Maybe half-inch hail could be evolving there around southwest 147th Avenue in Bradford County. So again, a situation here where this will impact areas there. I know we talked about earlier, the other storm's not going to impact the Walmart area. Well, this one might. So that's something to keep in mind here. If you're in Stark, there's only one Walmart in Bradford County, so you guys probably realize, obviously, more what I'm talking about if you're familiar with this area. So the southern parts of Stark, at least here, I think would probably get impacted by this, but we still have to kind of establish the movement since it developed so quick. Make sure we're not kind of misled on this, but it looks like at least the northern part of this would impact those areas. You see our box, it includes, even includes the Stark Golf and Country Club area, Stark itself here, the downtown. So, the other one did too, but this one, it seems like would have a little bit better chance at least of coming closer, but we'll just have to keep watching. I'm just curious to see what's going on. Let's go ahead, look back up toward the north here. Again, you see around Rayford here. You see around Rayford there, we're seeing some wind energy to about 30 miles an hour. Again, the warning earlier we had for 60. We really never saw winds like that, but I think the reason they issued the warning is we just saw such a high reflectivity value that there was potential for some severe weather, maybe even just severe hail to an inch there along State Road 100, which technically, I guess you could say could be damaging, but probably most instances it wouldn't be. But again, that this is something still that you get to warn when that's necessary, so and when that's detected. So again, just tracking the latest information for you guys as we're getting closer later on here on this Saturday. We're just trying to make sure you guys know exactly what's going on here in the Weather Center. So Again, it's the scan here on the screen now is from 510. So right now, a new scan here showing even a little bit higher reflectivity values are on county road 18 now. Still not much in the way of wind at all though in this, which is good news. I mean, doesn't mean you couldn't have a gust of 40 though. That's what the Weather Service is saying. But I mean, honestly, it takes a lot to get hail around here. That's the thinking. And why you wouldn't issue a warning right away here, even if you see this purple. And that actually looks like in that latest scan, it wants to aim more toward Hampton now. So that'll be something to watch here over the next little bit to see if we get a warning closer toward Hampton and Keystone, or maybe Theresa even instead. So again, we'll just have to watch here, watch the situation as it does evolve. I'm trying to give you guys the latest here. Again, no official warnings anymore. I don't see any questions right now. We just had one warning. It was a pretty short one overall. And we haven't had any damage reports, any power outages, anything too overwhelming on the Doppler radars, mainly over in the more rural areas when it looked a little bit stronger. The other storm here off toward the west, but you see, it's overloaded. They're getting some heavy rain, maybe a little bit of lightning, but it doesn't look, I wouldn't stay on for this because it seems like it's kind of a maxed out for the time being, but this area may have not maxed out yet, and that could be an issue for Hampton here over in the next little bit, as that latest scan here kind of says it more, instead of an east-northeast, maybe just more due east here toward Hampton. So again, we'll just have to wait and see here as these scans go along. We're at 511 right now, so just want to see our ZDR product. This shows upscale growth, so it shows just on how it grows, how it intensifies here, how it becomes more mature here. That's what this product's showing, and we have these reds on here that's showing that happening here. To the southeast of Rooker there, along, again, County Road 18 there. We had State Road 100 earlier, the more rural areas with the storm maturing. That got warned. Now, with this one that's in Bradford County, that was in Western Union. This is in Bradford. With this one along rural parts, really, of County Road 18 mature enough to get a warning. That's the question. I mean, we probably are pretty close to Graham in here, too, by the way, if you guys are wondering. I know it doesn't show up on our maps here, but we're in that Graham area here where we're looking at things. So again, I just continuing to give you guys the latest here, mainly locally, but I do want to mention nationally. We just had our system pop a tornado warning here in North Carolina, so I'll go ahead and say that to you guys when it comes up here on my other source. It came up on my one source here, and it'll be up on the second one here momentarily, so just bear with me here. Try to give you guys the very latest information in that national level tornado warning. This in parts of Robeson County, it looks like, in North Carolina, though, if you guys are wondering there from that national perspective. So let me go ahead and show you guys that. That's more of an organized severe potential that we're seeing up there. It's that red box there as we're looking just over from South Carolina, a possible tornado being detected there near the community of Fairmont, or 10 miles east of Dillon, moving east at 30 miles an hour. So that's what they're dealing with up there. We've had only a few tornado warnings today. One this morning in South Carolina, one this afternoon up there, there in the Virginia region in the D.C. market, TV market, though. And now this one is there in toward areas there in North Carolina. I believe this would be more to Wilmington market. It may kind of clip the Myrtle Beach market, but looking there in parts of North Carolina, that area there, some radar indicated rotation in parts of Robeson County. That's pretty tight. I hear thunder. Listen to that here in the background. It's starting to pick up here where we're at in Bradford County, Florida. So if you could hear that, you probably could. That might be kind of interesting to hear. I haven't heard that in a while, to be quite honest here. We've really kind of lacked the storms where we're at here, even though we cover other areas here within our 62 county. That is a different story. But let's look at Robeson County here. I'll zoom in with our system here as I do that. And there you go. You can see here the light, and then look at that tight rotation there, moving toward Fairmont there. That's south of Lumberton, southwest of Bladensboro there. So that's something that's kind of interesting from the national perspective. Back to the local view we go here. Again, you heard that thunder. We really need to rain here. in north central Florida. There's parts of the area that doesn't need to rain as much, but other areas do need that rain because as fires become a concern. And hearing that thunder, I mean, if you don't get enough rain, that could end up being something that's not a cloud to cloud, it's cloud to ground, and that could start a wildfire. What we just heard, in theory, if that was cloud to ground lightning, and it hit something, hit a tree, it could start a wildfire. So, and you don't get enough rain, and that wildfire starts to spread, the winds pick up, and you could have a situation on your hands. So, just in theory, that's something to think about. But again, let's go ahead and go back over here again. Our 62 counties, I mean, our drought maps are interesting. You can get those at cloudweather.com/extra. I'm not going to pull it up on this system here, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through it here kind of verbally, per se. I'm popping it up on my other system, and I'll explain it to you guys with this map. Be just a little bit simpler maybe. So we're starting to get some pretty extreme drought there as we're looking from about just south around Levy County there along the west central Florida coast. They had a wildfire situation there we've been watching, but then as we look further on up, we're seeing severe drought here as we're looking in areas like Marion and Levy per se, and just that overall vicinity. I'm looking at it from the more national picture here, so I could be about a county off because I'm looking at this from the whole nation map. But as we get further up, like Baker County, still a moderate drought areas there. Further on over there, I mean, looking over into Duval County, a moderate drought as well. So again, you kind of get the idea here. And then other areas though, like Padasta or Bainbridge, you're not seeing a drought anymore. Tallahassee, some of our areas have seen enough rain, seen sufficient rainfall. So again, there's always those different kind of concerns that have to be addressed here. But again, just continuing to follow along here. That storm west of Hampton's really exploded here. He's starting to pick up some wind now. And so I hate to just wrap it up when we have a situation like this. I feel like this could get a warning. It may not. It very well may not. But it's probably getting closer to 50-50 that it gets a warning here before it leaves Bradford County. So it would just take a couple extra minutes to get on, and then we might already have damage. So that's why I kind of hesitate just going off here. I'm hesitant to go off here with this because this exploded so quickly here in this environment. So it's in a perfect spot to develop too. I mean, you can see that there just southeast of County Road 18 there, getting winds to about 30 miles an hour. But again, I don't think they're going to use that as much because if you just get a little bit more on reflectivity, they might think this has enough severe potential in terms of hail and wind combined to issue a warning for the Hampton area. So now we'll go and zoom back. You see that in the north, that's really not that impressive there on Laurie. Still don't go outside, obviously, but yeah, that lightning, by the way, look at this. This is dangerous, folks, because that lightning here is closer to us than the storms are. As this went away, of course. Let me back it. Well, may not be able to back it up. But anyway, it was on this boundary here. It looked like, I'll go ahead and put my mouse. It was over here in this boundary area here where it developed, and that can get people killed, to be quite honest. And that was away from the rainfall too. So if that hits the ground, that can cause a wildfire. I mean, in theory. So it's got to be really careful here, folks. I don't like seeing stuff like that, to be quite honest. So have to continue to watch things, watch our latest scans here in the Weather Center. So again, looking at things here, winds to about 30 showing up, but again, it's more about just if we get a little bit more in a hail indication here, that'll be more cause for concern. Our GDR products are showing some nastier, higher values there, and we're looking right here at Hampton Lake. Nobody needs to be on Hampton Lake right now, folks. I mean, you heard the thunder in the background where I'm at. Even if there's not a lot, it only takes one strike here, folks. You do not need to be on Hampton Lake there right now in Bradford County. So again, even if this is not severe, it's a nasty storm moving in. I mean, you should probably know it by now. I mean, it's pouring there at this point. But again, that's really just the latest scan come right over you guys here. Probably don't even need a meteorologist telling you that here at this point. But nonetheless, we'll watch to see if areas there off toward the east need to be inside as well. It's going to be getting closer maybe toward that Keystone Airport, at least, even if it doesn't really hit Keystone proper here as we look at the timeline. So again, let's go ahead and zoom back out just a little bit here. Again, trying to give you guys the latest information. We're trying to get some things in. It looks like we just got some reports of some issues here off toward the west. Let me go ahead and see what I'm being told about here. We get some different information in here in the Weather Center on this Saturday. Again, we're trying to give you guys the latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family. I'm being told that there was a report here about 4:45 of a tree that did fall there on State Road 100 West near the county line, 3 miles northwest of New Rivers. So again, that's from about 4:45. So I'll be curious to see the exact spot here in the geography of things. It's on either source. That's near the Bradford Union line, in fact. So I'm gonna back this up to see what the radar was showing at that time. Then I wonder if that was even maybe a little later than that, or maybe right on the edge there. It could have been right on the edge there with that coming on in. So let's go ahead and see you guys that there on our other source. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So that's where the report was at about the time that it came in. I mean, maybe even more right on the edge there of that accent. So that's kind of goes to say you just need to be really careful. It was right after we came on the air and gave you a little bit of the heads up there. I know we had an animated count a little bit earlier than that with that warning there as well coming on out. But again, a tree falling along State Road 100 West there near the county line, just over near Union County it would appear. So again, interesting to see that from earlier on. Again, that's the Cade. But this other area here has kind of strengthened here near Hampton. We'll just continue to watch things here in the weather center. Again, let's go ahead and go back on over down toward the Hampton area. Since there's no warnings in play at this point, I'm not, again, the May issue 1 is kind of close here. The other area, we're not going to get a warning on another one at this point. It doesn't look like. I'll go ahead and zoom back out. I mean, I can always re-strengthen it. That's what a storm in Nassau. That's close to that fire here we've had around Bryceville. It looks like it's starting to intensify. No advisory yet, but again, we're not too far away from Bryceville per se out here, and we're seeing winds to about 40. That could become a problem here if it's not completely out. If we don't get enough rain on that, we'll have to watch that there. That fire, what's left of it, could be helping to fuel the storminess a little bit. Increased instability too, so that's something to keep an eye on here. Again, looking back down toward Hampton, just continuing to watch things here in the weather center. It didn't look like it's doing that well on velocity here. Again, we'll back this up a little bit. It seemed like maybe a little bit more but there, and then as we kind of continue, it looks like that latest scan a little bit weaker, not by much, but just a little bit there. It seems like the storminess is trying to split the difference of Stark here right now anyway. Most is Stark, the one area to the north, the other to the south here. So that's kind of interesting to see in the grand scheme of things. So, again, you see that is storm in Nassau County. We'll keep watching that because that could be an issue here. I mean, we're not terribly far away. I mean, you see Bryceville to the south, of course. But my point being is this the overall pattern here. We could end up seeing some issues here evolve on us if we're not careful with this. I mean, you don't want to have that wind there and not enough rainfall in your area. So again, we'll just continue to watch things here. Or you don't want to have lightning too to spark more fires like we might have just had. Hopefully not. But again, if you were to hit something there and you're not going to get enough rain, that could be an issue there. So again, just continuing to watch here in the weather center, trying to give you guys the latest here. We're trying to make sure you guys have the latest. I'm looking here in Bradford County, so if there's any reports here into the alert system per se that are relevant to weather. I don't see anything right now, which is good news. Just trying to scan over it. I don't see anything right now that would be relevant to any type of weather problems here arising in Bradford. Doesn't mean there aren't any, but we don't have any in right now at least. So that's some good news. But again, just continue to watch the scan. That looks a little bit interesting there at least, but nothing overwhelming, but definitely could have some gustier winds around Hampton there. And then I'll be moving in toward the Thressa area over the next little bit. So backing this up here just a little bit again, right about there, right on that edge there. That's interesting again. Of all the spots, I wouldn't have exactly pictured that for sure, but sometimes you can definitely get that right on that leading edge there of the accent. I would have thought maybe just a little bit more there. Maybe almost makes me wonder if it was that is where that ended up falling and the report was just delayed because it almost would seem like it would be that spot there on the radar versus this spot here. Maybe that it actually happened a little later. I don't know, but again, we'll just have to continue to watch things. I'm sure we'll continue to get updates here in the weather center on stuff as needed. But since there's no warnings here in play at this point, Again, we're just going to keep watching stuff around Hampton. Of course, just knowing my luck here in terms of how we do cover. Sometimes things could just ramp up just enough. Maybe we get a gust of that Keystone Airport to severe ranges, and then we get a warning and we have to come back on here. And then things have kind of already happened here. So that can happen. It's almost like more of a summertime pattern where things just develop so quickly here in an isolated fashion. So that makes things more tricky for coverage. But again, just continuing to watch things here in the Weather Center. Again, you can see no active warnings here. You see that mesoscale discussing that extends all the way through Orlando for some scattered, strong, and severe storms remaining a possibility here over the next at least few hours. So again, I'm just going to keep watching things. You can see up towards South Carolina, North Carolina. We have that tornado warning there in Robeson County. That's a big story nationally. Nothing confirmed, but still a national storyline. We have a tornado warning in play. That looked pretty tight on one part of our system. I'll go ahead and put up on the other. You see the severe thunderstorm watch in play in that pink as well. So that's always kind of interesting to keep an eye on. That means severe thunderstorms are possible in and close to the watch area. So again, just going to have to keep our eyes on things here in that regard. From that national perspective, not expecting anything to really overachieve like what we saw back out of Oklahoma earlier in the week. But a rogue tornado or two is a possibility. We're honestly seeing some other areas of rotation here that, yeah, that looks, some of those areas looking more impressive than where the tornado warning is now. So let me go ahead and switch over. So we had the tornado warning in the red box, but then we have a couple other areas here on our maps. Let me go ahead and point these out. So we have the tornado warning here. It's further on up here toward the north, so right in there. And that shows up on the screen for you guys. But then we have this area, and then this area in northern Marion in South Carolina. That looks like it could be trying to tighten up on us a little bit. So it's kind of interesting to keep an eye on here. That other tornado warning officially just went away. So interesting to see there from that national perspective. So no tornado warnings in the country here at this point. But going back on over to other mode here. Again, I'm not seeing enough lightning, enough ferocity with these storms to be terribly concerned at this point, but we'll continue to watch here. We'll continue to monitor the situation. Of course, if we need to come back on, we will. I'll check our reports one more time here to make sure we don't have anything from either Bradford County or anything in terms of power outages, because when you have a tree fall in Union, maybe we have a little bit of power outage accident associated with that. But I'm not seeing any. No customer in dark in Union as of the PowerOutage.us assessment. Bradford County, one customer in the dark there out of 10,502 that are tracked. None in Columbia, none in Baker, none in Clay, none in Putnam, none in Alachua. It looks like a few in Levy and Marion, but nothing not really be too relevant here. But again, it goes to say things haven't been too bad, but one tree falling. I haven't got any information to suggest this, but this was a law enforcement report at 4:45, a tree falling on State Road 100 West near the county line. Of course, if a car was there when that fell, then that can be problematic. That can be injury causing or something even worse, but we don't have anything that suggests that here at this point. It's just that can happen if you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So it's always important to be very careful in these type of situations here. So that's going to do it for now here in the Weather Center. We don't have any warnings here on point. We'll keep our eyes on the action. If we have another warning, we'll let you guys know, whether it's by coming on or just posting about it. Of course, we have our automated Twitter account there, Cloud_WX as well. That was sending out the warning information too before we jumped on here with the latest. So again, I'll pop that information up so you guys can write it down. Of course, if you're not subscribed already on YouTube, you can hit that subscribe button. That's all free there, and you can hit that bell icon as well to be notified when we come on with a live stream here with that information to protect you, your friends, and your family. Have a great afternoon, have a great evening, have a great weekend if we don't see you guys back here before that Tuesday time frame.